They dump so much toxicity into their bloodstream that it just shuts it down. So the whole calories in, calories out is kind of like, does it have an impact? Of course. However, the body will resist losing weight. If the toxicity coming out was going to be too dangerous, or if it shuts down things too fast, you just won't lose it.
Yeah. All right, guys, Dr. Garrett Smith here today. We're going to talk about important health things.
Yes, I'm excited.
I think you're most known for the vitamin A stuff these days, right?
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I'm kind of the expert in that. Yeah, should we head into that one?
Yeah, let's start off.
Okay. Well, so the big thing was, I kind of got started into it. I heard about a guy named Grant Genereux. I just had him on my podcast. He figured out, he had jaundice, which is where you turn yellow from liver messing up, right? He had chronic kidney disease, and he had really bad eczema. And he looked at about the top 10 foods that triggered eczema, and he figured out the thing in common of them was 9 of the 10 had vitamin A in them. And he, as an engineer, he just thought, well, I'll just take that out of my diet. He made a diet for that. He did it. He fixed all 3 of his conditions. He was the first guy who his nephrologist, his kidney doctors had seen, fixed that chronic kidney disease completely.
Wow.
So I started doing it with my clients, and I didn't want people to have to do exactly what Grant did, which was a very limited diet. It was like, 5 different foods. And I knew that I wouldn't do that. I knew that I wanted to help people get better, but I wouldn't do that diet. So I started looking into other low vitamin A foods, and I kind of came up with this approach. And I came up with, I looked more into the detox processes of vitamin A, so we could kind of scientifically figure out how to make this happen the best. And now Grant's been doing it for 10 years. I'm at 6 years, and we have people healing all sorts of diseases that people think can't be fixed. Now, we do more than just low vitamin A diet, but that is a huge foundation of it. Because a lot of people think vitamin A is healthy, and we don't. And I think a lot of people in the health field don't get better because they're actually eating things that are toxic while their intention is good to get better. The problem is their method, it's not working the way they want, because they're encouraged to put in a poison that's actually getting in their way.
Because it's in a lot of multivitamins, right?
Oh man, multivitamins are real bad. I mean, it's in prenatals. There's only one vitamin that women are told not to take or not to overdo during pregnancy, and that's vitamin A.
Really?
Yeah. So when you hear about things that cause birth defects, you should immediately be going, those aren't good for adults either.
Wow.
Doesn't that make sense though? Like, it affects the babies the most because their cells are dividing the fastest. And that's when you can have the most problems occur.
Dang.
So just because adults are more developed, it doesn't mean that it's not bad for us. It just takes longer to show up. So yeah.
Now, how is it getting in these foods? Because it's a man-made vitamin, right?
Well, no. Vitamin A it occurs naturally in foods. The way all vitamin A, what people will talk about plant vitamin A or carotenoids, which is like beta carotene. You might have heard of that.
Yeah.
And then they talk about animal vitamin A, which is retinol. Okay. There is no retinol in animals anywhere without carotenoids first. Carotenoids come into us or an animal. We have an enzyme that can chop it in half, and then we get 2 retinaldehydes, and then that can turn to retinol. So basically, it's a plant-based toxin. We always have to remember that plants, they don't have claws, they don't have teeth, they can't run. So the only defense they have against the world is chemical warfare. And that's part of what is going on with this.
Right.
So it is natural. It's in foods. It's in supplements. It's in things like cod liver oil and dairy and butter, and a lot of dairy has a lot of vitamin A.
Damn. I love cheese.
Yeah, well,
that hurts my heart.
What
about raw though?
Raw. Okay. The detox process of vitamin A is actually one of oxidation. We were talking about that a second ago. Oxidation moves vitamin A along the detox process. So raw versus, let's say, heated vitamin A, it just moves it down some steps. The problem with vitamin A that people don't realize is as it goes through the detox process, it actually gets more toxic.
Damn.
So technically, could raw vitamin A in food be in that form be less damaging? Sure. Okay. But it's going to go through the same detox process in your body as cooking. It's all, we very much get into kind of the actual science of detox, and it starts to make sense. And then we can actually impact it at specific areas. Like an enzyme I work a lot on is ALDH. It's aldehyde dehydrogenase. And so we're actually scientifically making sure we're not slowing down detox and we're giving the body what it needs to move through it.
Wow. Damn. I got to chill on the pizza then, huh?
It's a lot of human disease is just accumulation of toxins because a lot of these things are fat soluble. Vitamin A is fat soluble. When you think of the word fat soluble, you want to think of fat storable. So if you take in more of these things than you get rid of, you're going to store them in your fat and you're going to slowly accumulate them. And this is why we tend to think of aging. People are just aging. They just go, you're just getting older. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about aging is you've accumulated more toxins over a longer period of time. And then things stop working so well. They actually show that people's serum retinol, which is your blood vitamin A, goes up as people get older, it tends to go up because they're accumulating toxins in their system.
Interesting.
And this is just a big thing. We're just working on. It's very much like a checkbook or a checking account. We are trying to, if you wanted to make your checking account grow, you want to make more money than you spend, right? Okay, well, we're trying to get rid of more toxins than we take in. It's just math.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're trying to do.
How difficult is it getting rid of those toxins if you have a lot in your body right now?
Well, what we have seen, if somebody really does the work, typically, they can see improvements. We've got people who see improvements in a couple weeks, in a month. But if they really want to get to the deep stuff, we have people coming who are, some people said I basically helped them save their life. Like
Damn.
they were just bed bound. Those people, to really fix everything, we're talking like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
To really fix it. And it may even be a little longer, but the whole time they can see improvements, right? It'd be just like lifting weights, right? If you say, I want to lift a certain amount of weight, it might take you years to get there, but all along the way, you're going to get stronger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we can detox people. They get rid of their health issues along the way, but their biggest concern, their biggest health issue may take the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the deepest thing to fix.
This is interesting because I've heard of heavy metal detox. I've heard of parasite detox, but I've never heard of this type of detox.
Well, we're doing all of it. Like we are working on all the angles that we can. We're trying to work on getting rid of aldehydes out of the diet. We work on heavy metals. We work on the vitamin A stuff, the fat soluble stuff. And we're trying to hit multiple angles. Some people try to reduce me to just vitamin A. And I'm like, no, there's other people out there who think that's what I'm about. And I go, you don't quite know the extent of all the things. I've never been a one angle type of guy. I saw, here's this angle, and how does this start relating to everything else?
Yeah, because one angle is probably not enough these days.
No, the toxicity coming at us is so many angles. And the one thing that blows people's mind is that we inherit toxicity from our parents.
Really?
Like, yeah, I showed this in a couple studies on my last live stream. Yeah, we actually inherit toxins. They're not everything, right? But we inherit toxins. They're handed down through the generations. So if somebody says, well, my great grandma did all this, and I'm like, you're not your great grandma. And then your great grandma gave stuff to your grandma, and she gave stuff to your mom, and then they gave that to you. So it's all been handed down. So you're not in as good a position.
Holy crap.
And that's where we're at right now. And so we're undoing this stuff. Like as an example, we had a mom who had her 4th child recently. All 3 kids were jaundiced before when they were born, which means 80% of kids are being born jaundiced.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah. This means their livers are not good from the get-go.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah. They're starting with their livers behind. And then, so she just had her 4th child after she had been doing my work, not jaundiced.
Damn.
Like, so we're fixing the liver problems that, all those kids inherited. A lot of people notice a pattern that the first child in a family is like the healthiest one. And then as you have more kids, they kind of get sicker or they have more problems. The mom's accumulating toxicity that whole time. And so each kid is grabbing onto a bigger chunk.
That makes sense.
And we're here to resolve that and fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. I plan on having kids soon, and we're like super aware of the health of the woman now.
Yeah. It's still the child marinates in the mom basically for like 9 months, right? So what the mom has in her is going to make the biggest impact. But of course the dad's contribution still has a huge impact.
Right.
So we want it to be both men and women being healthy.
Yeah.
So
Dang. I didn't realize how much it got passed down though. That is super interesting. Because that age-old nature versus nurture debate, right?
yeah. Well, people want to think that we're all clean slates, right? It just, then they don't have to take as much responsibility. But the problem is there is a huge amount of responsibility that we're passing down. And it impacts the kids. And this is why we have so many problems today that we didn't before, is just these problems keep.
The ADHD, the autism.
It's all just toxicity. And I mean, well, it's not all just toxicity. There's deficiencies too. So we work on nutrient deficiencies and toxicity.
Yeah. Vitamin D is a big deficiency these days, right?
Well,
No.
vitamin D. Well, here's the funny thing. What I don't know if we're going to hit on vitamin D too much today, but it's considered in the research that vitamin D and vitamin A are antagonistic. So what that means is if vitamin A goes up, like toxicity goes up, your vitamin D goes down.
Huh.
So if we're sitting here discussing, and I'm saying there's a vitamin A toxicity epidemic, when vitamin A goes up, vitamin D goes down. Do you see what I'm getting at? So is it a vitamin D deficiency epidemic, or is it a vitamin A toxicity epidemic that's then causing that? And then other things that cause your vitamin D to get lower: zinc deficiency, which we work on a ton.
Yeah, I had that actually.
Magnesium deficiency, we work on that a ton. And then if people just don't eat enough protein, that's in the research too. And then there's the whole light thing, getting outside.
Yeah.
So if people fix those, they fix their vitamin A toxicity, their zinc deficiency, their magnesium deficiency, protein deficiency, and they get light, the vitamin D deficiency problem goes away. So
what do you think of the calorie deficit approach that Brian Johnson's on? He's eating, he's burning more calories than he's eating, right?
Yeah.
By 200 a day.
That's a huge topic. I tend to think that one of the reasons people tend to gain weight. So we were talking about fat soluble toxins, right? So where does your body store fat soluble toxins? In the fat. So if you had too many coming in, what is your body going to make more of? Let me back up 1 second. If you take in, your body cannot get rid of toxins fast enough oftentimes. But your body has to get it out of the blood. If the toxins stay in your blood, they change how you feel. They affect your brain, they affect your heart, they affect everything. So what the body will do if it can't detox stuff fast enough is it will store it. It has to get it out of the blood. It can't get rid of it fast enough. It's like a lot of people with their house, and they have too much stuff in their house, right? Yeah. So they got to get it out of their house so that their house can function. Well, so they put it in a storage unit, right? Well, your body can make storage units like body fat. It can store it in the liver itself, which is fatty liver. So fat soluble toxins, your body will make more storage. And then what we can do to bring down that body fat is, as we get the fat soluble toxins out, then the body goes, I don't need to keep this anymore. So this is a lot of times, I did a whole live stream on this, where when people were losing weight quickly, they were dumping tons of fat soluble toxins in their bloodstream, and they measured this. And I believe that this is actually why a lot of people, when, let's say they have a lot of weight to lose, and they're losing it, and then they kind of stall. Yeah. What's happening is the amount of toxins that are going in their blood is now affecting their thyroid and their ability to burn more fat. Their body's saying, we can't do this anymore. And then the body would actually put a lot of those toxins back in the fat. So they have less fat now, right? Some of the toxins are going back in, they're actually more concentrated in toxins.
Jeez.
And this is why a lot of people, when they try to do the same diet again, it only works like half as much.
Wow.
And then they try it again, it only works like 2 pounds. And they're like, I don't understand. I'm doing the same diet I did, but I'm not losing any more weight. Because as soon as they start dropping body fat or burning body fat, they dump so much toxicity into their bloodstream that it just shuts it down. So the whole calories in, calories out is kind of like, does it have an impact? Of course. However, the body will resist losing weight. If the toxicity coming out was going to be too dangerous, or if it shuts down things too fast, you just won't lose it. Yeah. So
that is super interesting, because when you see these bodybuilders that are super lean, they're not the healthiest after they retire.
Oh no, they're not living very long.
Yeah. And I never even thought it was a toxin thing.
Well, yeah, when you think of how low their body fat is and what they must be storing
3 to 5%.
But if they lose all their body fat, what's the last place left to store fat soluble toxins? It's their liver.
Liver king.
The liver king. Yeah. Well, that's kind of an example of, I have people look at this, which is health influencers who are red. when you see a person who is red, like they're tan, but they're red.
Yeah.
Their liver is not happy.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's a bad sign of a liver. And that's in Chinese medicine, like traditional Chinese medicine, like being red in the face. Like you see a lot of alcoholics. That's just a sign of a messed up liver.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. He was eating organ meat, which is high in vitamin A, right?
Yeah. Oh, he would do a challenge where he'd eat a pound of liver in a sitting.
Jeez.
And he's kind of, I don't know how there he is these days. Some people say that he's experimented with a lot of things and may not be doing so hot.
I mean, that whole industry is sketchy when they're pushing their own products. I feel like there's going to be a bias.
Yeah. Well, when you find out that he was, what he was doing in the background, saying he was all natural and doing things that were not so natural, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Dishonesty is rampant.
I mean, that one was obvious. How would you think he's natural?
People want to believe it. I mean, in these days of influencers, like they see something that they like and they want to believe that person is honest.
Yeah.
And everybody else is just going, yeah, that just doesn't happen.
You've seen a ton of fads come and go, being in this space for a while. What do you think of this methylene blue thing going on right now?
Methylene blue. I mean, the first thing is it's a dye. It's an azo dye. Azo dyes. I was just going over this the other day. Red 40,
really,
and yellow 5 are known to be like toxic food colorings.
Yeah,
those are azo dyes. So methylene blue is the blue version of an azo dye. It's got, I mean, I was going over the poison control website where they were talking about methylene blue the other day. It's stored in the nerves. It's stored in the fat tissues. Methylene blue is a fat soluble toxins. And I showed research on my Twitter thread and on my video about how it accumulates inside the cells. Like they actually said, like insoluble solids of methylene blue were forming inside the cells.
Jeez.
It's used as a fish tank cleaner, as a biocide. So bio life, side to kill, right? So it's a biocide. It's a porta potty. The blue stuff in the porta potty?
That's methylene blue?
It's sometimes it is, yes.
Holy
absolutely.
Crap.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, for the fish tank cleaner, right, what would be better to use in a porta potty to keep it, so they can clean it out easy when they're done.
Right.
So the big thing is, I mean, people will say they feel better on it. And I go, okay. It is an MAOI antidepressant. So it's a pharmaceutical. I mean, it is a pharmaceutical. It's sold as a pharmaceutical. It has a black box warning. When they use it in IVs in hospitals and they use it as an oral, it has a black box warning, which is the highest warning that the FDA gives. So, and then people put a small concentration of it into into a dropper bottle and they think it's fine. Well, it's an antidepressant. It is literally an antidepressant. It's an antipsychotic compound and it's a stimulant. So imagine if people were taking something that's a antidepressant, an antipsychotic, and a stimulant, they might feel good, right? But it's accumulating in their system. This is the thing that people don't understand. They'll say, well, it's not toxic short term. But we go, but it's accumulating over time.
Right.
I can joke that like somebody you shoot somebody with a 22 bullet, right? It doesn't kill them. But if you start accumulating 22 shots in you, at some point you're going to go down, right? So it's just accumulating damage. It's accumulating toxicity. And this is where people, they just don't get it because the pharmaceutical industry does short-term studies. They don't do long-term studies. And there is no long-term data on taking this methylene blue low dose.
Wow.
And there's another guy, I actually posted a thread on Twitter by Tuluminati 888, and he was showing, he has been in this industry for a long time. They investigated methylene blue like 10 years ago as a nootropic, as a brain nutrient, right? They ditched it because there was too many side effects. They saw it come on slowly. So you have all these people saying, I don't have problems yet. And I'm going, that's that key word, yet.
Yet. It's like the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so you just don't, I mean, the whole thing is a lot of people who are taking it are into the natural, they're into the
RFK is taking it, which is weird.
Yeah. The whole idea of natural health. And then all of a sudden they glom onto a pharmaceutical drug, and the guy who created it, or the guy who really started the work on it, he invented chemotherapy, which we all know is so healthy. Right?
Wow.
And the thing he was working on before methylene blue was an arsenic compound.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like birds of a feather kind of flock together. I don't want to be any part of that.
Nah.
So I just think it's going to end really badly. And if people are wondering right now, they go, well, I'm already on it. I don't want to take it anymore now that I heard this. What do I do? Well, it's really just stop it.
Is there any addiction to it or?
Well, I mean, anything stimulants are very addicting.
Yeah.
Right. So they might have a little, they actually, in that thread, Toluminati did talk about a withdrawal process. It could be very simple. It could be rough. He said it was totally different.
Dude, when I was on Xanax, that was the worst withdrawal I've ever had. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That wasn't fun at all.
The drugs are just what they're doing, actually. As I showed in my thread, methylene blue slows down more detox processes than anything I've ever seen.
Damn.
The weird thing is, I mean, that's what the pharmaceutical industry, they give you kind of a toxin that has an effect. A lot of times it's slowing down your detox. Now, I don't know that we have time to go over this all today, but by slowing down your detox, short term, you can feel better. That's what they do. They suppress symptoms. Well, what if the mechanism suppressing symptoms is actually just slowing detox? And then so you're slowing detox that whole time. Does that mean you're not exposed to toxins? You're still being exposed to toxins. So you're accumulating them even more. So think about this. When you stop that med, when you stop the methylene blue, your detox systems come back online. And now you have extra stored toxicity in you. And then that starts leaking out into your system, and then you feel bad. And it takes a while for your system to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
So it's a different paradigm of, getting people better. And why do we feel better when we take short-term, these toxic things? And why do we want to get rid of them long-term so we can function well without them? Yeah.
Yeah. Pharma's sneaky with it, man. They've even infiltrated the supplement industry too.
Yeah.
They own a lot of those companies.
Well, most of the meds these days, I mean, you wonder how much money they put into herbal research. There's tons of herbal research. You go and you look, well, who's funding that? The pharmaceutical industry, because they get like 70% of their compounds are plant compounds that they just tweak.
Really?
So then you start going, wait, if a pharmaceutical medicine is just a herbal compound tweaked, are those herbal compounds not good for us either? Or are they just weaker? So they're weaker with less side effects. Pharma just takes them and then they turn them into stronger with more side effects.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nobody has an herb deficiency. I talk about this all the time. A lot of herbs are just suppressing symptoms too. Because how do you know they're suppressing symptoms? You stop taking it and the problem comes back. That means you didn't fix it.
Yeah. You get to the root cause with what you do.
That is what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't.
No. They don't know what the root cause is. It's really just it's a philosophical foundation kind of thing. It's like, I wanted to, when I started doing all of this, I believed that there was some common thread to chronic disease. A lot of people want it to be one thing. Like, there's like the candida thing, or there's the heavy metals thing, or there's the parasites thing, and everybody wants it to be one thing. Now, can it be all of these things together? But what makes one person grow candida better than another? Why do only some people really have parasites and other people don't, even in the same household? What is going on? Why does one person grow things better than another? Well, how would you grow things better in a garden? Well, you got to make the soil and everything suitable. So one person's soil is more suitable to grow these nasty things, which tends to mean they're more toxic. So when we start to figure out like concepts that I'm working on, like cancer is toxicity storage tissue. Cancer is not our body like going rogue, and these cells are just going rogue and making more of themselves. It's that our ability to store this stuff has run out. And the body is actually like, how I was saying the storage unit, you buy a storage unit to put your stuff in. The body is creating storage units for toxicity. And we have to get rid of the toxicity to fix it. As an example, I was talking about ALDH as a detox enzyme. Okay. Cancer tissue has tons of ALDH.
Really?
Yeah. And what does modern medicine want to do? They want to shut that down. That's actually one of their anti-cancer, like oncology approaches. They want to shut down the detox of cancer because they say that helps. We all know what direction like oncology medicine tends to make things go. It goes bad.
They kill the good cells too.
Well, they're already these people are already toxic. And then if you can't just slow down the ALDH in the cancer cells, it's going to slow it down all over the body. And it's a long story short, you can make things look better for a while. Like when people say, oh, I did chemotherapy and my cancers went away or it shrunk. Well, how much longer do you have until they all show up again?
That's what always happens too.
And it's worse, right? And then they got to give you a stronger chemo. So they got to shut down your detox stronger. And they just keep doing it until all of a sudden the toxin overwhelms the person.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here. A lot of people are doing that with supplements or other things. They're just doing it on a daily basis. Methylene blue, they just shut down their detox. They feel better for a while. And then eventually the problem is going to pop its head through because it's like a dam breaking. You just can't store the toxicity anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's concerning, man. Because a lot of people rely on supplements and they don't even know what they're taking.
Oh yeah. I mean, we do some supplements. I mean, I have a supplement line, but we're trying to do stuff like simple things.
Yeah.
Like zinc. Like you need zinc. The food doesn't have the zinc in it it's supposed to have anymore. Like, so we're just working on like minerals and the most basic things that, we're trying to do. A lot of times they're single ingredients because we want people to know, like you're an experiment of one. I'm an experiment of one. We might try the same zinc pill and it might not be enough for me, but you might not feel good on a certain dose. So you take less.
Yeah.
That's just individuality. Like when I see people on the internet, they're like, everybody needs to take this many milligrams of this every day. And I'm like, that's not how this works at all.
Yeah.
So we're respecting each person so they can figure things out. The more toxic people are at the start of doing this kind of work, the slower they got to go oftentimes, or, some people can go faster and maybe get through it sooner. But the whole idea is we're trying to improve people's health while we're not, a lot of people, when they try to detox, they know they're going to suffer.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying not to ruin their quality of life as much as possible. We're trying to help them get better while they're enjoying life, or at least it's getting better along the way. They're not making themselves suffer.
I remember when I got blood work last year, my vitamin D was low. I think I sent you my blood work too.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, take 10,000 IU of vitamin D3. I thought I was going to die. I'm not even kidding.
Tell me more.
I literally it was 5 pills, each one had 2,000, took it. I got chest tightness and I had to lay down for like hours. It was so uncomfortable.
Yep. Well, did I tell you did you see about how vitamin D3 is sold as rat poison?
No, I didn't see
Oh, okay. So yeah. If you go and you look up the products called Terra D3, TERAD3, and D-Con, D-Con, which is a pretty crazy name, right? That's rat poison. Mice poison, rat poison. It's vitamin D3. You look at the active ingredient, it is vitamin D3. It kills rodents by hypercalcemia, too much calcium in their blood, which then affects their coagulation, and they bleed out internally.
Jeez.
So what it does in humans, we're just bigger, right? So when we take a poison that would kill, so people will say, well, dude, that's a dose that kills a mouse. That's not going to kill a human. And I'm like, well, no, that's not how this is working. This is accumulation. Vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, right? So it accumulates. Now, what it does and what you were probably experiencing is two things that vitamin D does in the system. One is it raises calcium. Calcium tends to be contractions. Tight chest, right? Okay. So you start feeling things are tighter. It depletes potassium. Vitamin D depletes potassium. Well, you start depleting potassium too much, you're going to have just heart rhythm problems and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, my heart was going wild.
So that's exactly, you're just having an acute response and you stop taking it because, well, first of all, you listen to your body, right? You're like, I don't feel
I only did it one day. That was enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to take, one of my funny stories was I used to think I was being real smart because I was big on the vitamin D thing. Like I tend to be an early adopter. Like I was doing vitamin D for people 2013.
Yeah.
I was so into it. I was doing finger prick vitamin D tests in my office. Like I wanted people to do it and get on it. I was taking, 5,000 was kind of the dose back then.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'll do one better. I'll take 50,000 units one day a week.
Oh my God.
So I was doing on average 7,000 a day.
Jeez.
Right. I was normally I had normal bowel movements like 2, 3, 4 a day.
Yeah.
I would not go for 2 whole days after I took
crap.
it. And then I remember a book I read, he said, if you take too much vitamin D, you can get constipated. And I went, oh, there it is. It took me like 2 weeks to figure it out. But I do a lot of hair analysis. And one of the things on hair analysis, when you look at it, is vitamin D will raise calcium and lower potassium. That's what it does. You're going to see it. Okay. High calcium with low potassium on a hair test is basically a hypothyroid pattern. What's a big symptom of hypothyroid? Constipation. So we start seeing that all this stuff is matching up and we just don't have people take it. And then people don't have a deficiency of vitamin D pills. We talked about those things earlier. They have too much vitamin A. They have not enough zinc. They have not enough magnesium. They have possibly not enough protein. And then definitely they're not probably getting enough sunlight or UVB. Like I actually like, for people who can't get sun, I like tanning beds or spurty bulbs. I mean, if you need light, you need light.
Okay.
Just because, this is a very important thing, just because we can live places where there's not light doesn't mean it's good for us. So we need light. That's why we're not covered in hair.
Yeah. I just remember hearing all the fear mongering about tanning beds causing cancer growing up.
Well, think about this. If tanning beds were actually not bad for people, or if they were good for people, people could go in the wintertime and do their tanning bed. They'd be in a better mood. They'd be healthier. They'd enjoy life more. Is that going to do good things for the antidepressant industry? No. So what are they? I mean, you have to realize they will pay for studies to be done.
That's interesting.
And also, if people could get a tan without having to go outside, right? What's that going to do to the sunscreen industry? If you could just go and do 5 minutes every so often and get a nice tan, and you don't have to buy sunscreen because you don't know how long you're going to be outside and you don't want to burn, then, both the antidepressant industry and the sunscreen industry, those are pretty big industries,
Huge.
right? So you start to see that, well, the other thing is too, you start to see that it all makes sense. The more toxic somebody is with vitamin A, the more their eyes will be sensitive to light. So if people out there have sensitivity to like blue light from computer screens and all that stuff, or they go outside and they have to wear sunglasses, or if they very quickly burn when they go outside, those are vitamin A toxicity signs. They're not the only ones, but those are very big signs. And as we get people better, they're able to go out in the sun so much longer. And I have IT guys who tell me, they're like, I don't have problems with the screens anymore.
Wow.
So we see that these things, I have research showing that blue light will not cause damage to the body, the skin, or the eyes if vitamin A is not present.
Wow. That's impressive.
So if we take the vitamin A out, the eyes stop getting hurt, the skin stops getting burned, and we have people getting better and enjoying life and going, I should be able to go out in the sun, and now I can. So it's pretty cool.
What percentage of your tests are high in vitamin A?
This is a huge question because blood tests for vitamin A don't necessarily show how much is in the tissues. An analogy I've used to this is like if somebody's tried to estimate how many cars were in garages by how many cars are on the road. So if they count, if all they could see was the cars on the road, and then they're going to say, well, there's probably X number of cars in the garages. They could be completely wrong because they're just trying to guesstimate. We store vitamin A in the liver and in the body fat. Once it's out of the bloodstream, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going back and forth. So blood tests over and over in the research, basically what I'm saying is over and over in the research, they say blood vitamin A is not an indicator of how much is in the tissues.
Got it.
So I've had 2 people where they had deficient vitamin A on a blood test. They were deficient. And we start doing the things they're on a low vitamin A diet, and we start doing the things we do to detox them. And they both went actually high on vitamin A as they did it, and they're not eating it. So where did it come from? The tissues.
Wow. So how do you find out? Is that a hair test or urine?
There is actually no. So if somebody comes to me and they have like high vitamin A in the blood, they're very toxic, guaranteed. Okay. If somebody comes to me and they have normal vitamin A in the blood or low vitamin A in the blood, we don't know. So we just treat it like it's there. And then people generally start getting better.
Interesting.
So, yeah, there is no, I mean, the gold standard test for vitamin A toxicity in the body is a liver biopsy. They got to take a chunk of your liver out, right? Nobody wants to do that. I mean, you can get infections, you could get sepsis. You don't want to do that. So we don't really have a great way of doing it. It's kind of just people trust. A lot of people, like you mentioned, you had experience with Accutane.
Yeah,
right?
7 months.
Yeah. Or we have a lot of people like myself where I took vitamin A supplements. I did cod liver oil. I did the liver thing. I did dairy. I did supplements. I was all over the place. And my blood vitamin A came back in the normal range. And when I started doing this, I just started slowly getting better. And I mean, I had terrible chronic insomnia. I was developing, my dad died of prostate cancer. Well, he really died of the chemo.
Yeah.
But I was getting prostate issues mid-20s.
Damn, that's young.
And I had this back pain that started around the time I took ketoconazole, which is a med that slows detox. And in men, it's actually been shown to reduce testosterone.
That's not good.
Yeah. So I did that as a teenager. That's the worst time to do it, right? And I fixed all those issues and my psoriasis, I fixed psoriasis. So I just watched these things slowly go away. And then I was like, this is what we're doing. Like, I'm going to become the expert in this. But yeah, Accutane is a form. This is very important for people to know. Accutane, 13-cis-retinoic acid is the technical term. It is found in normal people who just eat vitamin A. It's found in your blood. So if people who are eating vitamin A, consuming vitamin A, which you can't avoid completely, but you're going to find some of the Accutane molecule in your blood. You're going to find some of the retin A molecule in your blood. The easiest way for me to explain how vitamin A is a toxin is retin A is called all-trans retinoic acid. It is also the same thing as tretinoin, or the big thing here is it's called a yellow peel or a chemical peel. So chemical peels, right? They're going to put something on somebody's face. It's going to dissolve the upper layers of cells, like literally dissolves the upper layers of cells. And then new skin comes up underneath it. Okay. Imagine if you have those compounds floating through your bloodstream or going through your gut. You've heard of leaky gut, right?
Yep.
You think chemically peeling your gut could cause leaky gut, right? So once you start to understand it's a chemical peel, and in a paper, a dermatologist called it induces controlled wounds to the skin. That's what they're trying to do with a chemical peel. Okay, so what about uncontrolled inside your body? And then we wonder why everybody's inflamed. And we have all these things where we're talking about leaky cells and leaky gut. And
when I was on Accutane, I had to get a monthly blood test to make sure I wasn't dying. And it was the worst I've ever felt. Like constipated, no emotion. Yeah, it was destroying me. I would never do it again. Never recommend it. And now what I know now, all the acne was diet related. I wouldn't.
What was it?
It was, I have the motherfucker gene break. I was eating a lot of dairy and bread and stuff. So I think it was that, carbs.
Well, so it's probably not carb, dairy, right? Okay,
dairy,
so the big things that we do to help acne, I have a whole live stream on acne, but vitamin A, dairy's full of vitamin A. They add vitamin A and vitamin D to regular dairy. And then a zinc deficiency is a big part of it. And then gluten, the issue with modern gluten is a lot of it's the glyphosate that's in it. And what if I were to tell you that glyphosate, the weed killer, actually slows your vitamin A detox?
Wow.
So you take out the dairy, you're taking out a lot of vitamin A and vitamin D and excessive calcium. And then you take out the gluten, you're taking out glyphosate, which slows your vitamin A detox. And then you see, so that can be enough for you. Like back when you were younger, that could be enough. And, obviously you didn't get along with the Accutane.
No. Oh my
God. So this is what we do. Like, chocolate is actually legit, like a thing that can aggravate acne in people.
Really?
Like the things where we see the urban legends of things that worsen acne. Like I could tell you each one of those things, how they slow detox and why they would make acne worse. So we see very good results with acne.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. And nobody has to take Accutane and ruin their
health. No doctor or dermatologist I went to talked about diet. That was the crazy part. It was all like a pill.
I've had people, the thing where people start to really question modern medicine is when I have people, they go to gastroenterologists, right? Gut doctors. And the gut doctors will legitimately tell them that what you eat has nothing to do with your gut problem.
What?
Yeah. And I always tell them, I'm like, if you go to a dermatologist, right, and you have a rash on your skin, first thing they're going to ask you is, what are you washing your clothes with? What are you putting on your skin? What are you doing to cause this? What are you applying to your skin? Why are gastroenterologists not asking people, what are you applying to your gut? Because that's probably causing it.
Yeah.
I had a gastroenterologist send his wife to me.
No way.
For her gut problems. That was a funny one.
That's ironic.
Yeah. So,
and it was diet related. It was vitamin A related.
It was back then. I wasn't doing this back then.
Okay.
But we did help her. One of the cool things we have now is we actually have multiple people who have told us that they have resolved their celiac disease, right? So that's an autoimmune condition to gluten. I had never heard anybody say that people could get better from that until people I was working with were saying it's getting better. And then they started saying it's gone.
Damn.
So I was, one of the things we talk about it a lot. I talk about toxic bile paradigm, which is my approach to health, but there's a difference in the people who have celiac disease. They actually dump more bile, which is part of the root cause of the problem. They dump more bile when they eat gluten than normal people. And so we start to find mechanisms of this. That was kind of a taster of toxic bile paradigm. I don't think we have time to go over that today, but that's what we're working on. We're working on toxic bile. We're working on toxicities. We're working on deficiency.
Yeah. Because you hear a lot of people with like a gluten sensitivity or dairy sensitivity, and it sounds like it ties to this.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about gluten is what we want is, we get people so they can eat it again. Of course, we want them to get organic stuff. We want them to get quality stuff. But in the meantime, kind of like, if somebody breaks their leg, right? They need to be in a cast and they need to not do stuff on it. So they're healing their leg. Okay, so if we're healing an autoimmune condition, they may need time where they have to be away from things. But then eventually we can bring it back in. So it's kind of a phase thing. We had one woman, she could not eat out at restaurants because if there was any gluten on like the fork that wasn't washed off, she'd be wrecked for 3 days.
Holy crap.
She wouldn't eat from convenience stores. She wouldn't eat from restaurants. She was, kind of in a way a shut-in. But now she's actually to the point now where she was going to try it, like actually try eating some gluten instead of just like dust on a fork.
That's nuts.
So it's really cool. Yeah.
Where are you at on the seed oil debate? Because I know that's a hot one.
Seed oils. Oh, well, this kind of gets into all the stuff about detox that we do. Now, what color are most seed oils?
Yellow.
What color is vitamin A?
Is it yellow?
Yeah. So we start going, okay, so seed oils do have a lot of vitamin A. We absorb fat-soluble toxins via fat. So seed oil, right? Vitamin A in oil, that's the best way to absorb it. Then we get into the PUFA thing, right? The polyunsaturated fatty acids. One of the big things, we talked about aldehyde dehydrogenase, right? Aldehyde dehydrogenase is a very important detox enzyme that detoxes aldehydes. Aldehydes are toxic. One of the forms of vitamin A is retinaldehyde. Nobody talks about it, but we know that aldehydes are toxic, and then people are going to try to say that an aldehyde is a vitamin. Start going, that doesn't make any sense. So aldehydes, one of the things that PUFAs turn into that people don't tend to talk about much is it turns into malondialdehyde and 4-hydroxy non-enaldehyde. These are both really toxic, and they often they measure these to see how much inflammation and other things are going on in the body in a short way. So when you're putting in PUFAs, when you're putting in seed oils, you're putting in vitamin A, you're putting in PUFAs. The PUFAs turn to aldehydes, and then actually malondialdehyde slows down ALDH. So the very toxin that's coming in is slowing down detox. One of the crazy things I tell people is that the more toxic you become, the slower your detox goes, right? People understand that if you drive a car a long time, you don't clean it and maintain it and stuff like that, it's going to be less efficient. Well, the same thing with your body. The more toxic your body becomes, the slower the detox runs.
Yeah.
And then people are often taking things to slow their detox. They don't realize it, but that's what they're doing to feel a little better. And they're slowing it all down, and then they're accumulating more toxins, and they wonder why when I can't get off this anymore. Or they get like basically the equivalent of withdrawals. The symptoms come back.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm stuck on it. But then oftentimes people who get really far along, they get to the point where they get symptoms when they take it and symptoms when they don't.
Jeez.
And then they don't know what to do.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's rough. We help people get out of that, but sometimes it just sucks for a while.
Yeah, sounds awful.
Yeah.
There's nothing you do helps at that point.
No. We can do things like give them the nutrients that they need. And then we also have, with their diet, we have them not put in things that are making it worse. And then we help people get off thyroid hormone. Like a lot of people get on thyroid hormone and they're told you're going to be on this for the rest of your life.
Jeez.
And we get people's health to the point where they're just like, I don't think I need this anymore. Or they're on thyroid hormone and they start getting hyperthyroid symptoms, too much, right? Or they go to their doctor and their doctor's like, your thyroid tests are too high. And then I talk to them and we talk about how they might lower their dose. And then we oftentimes as they work with me long enough, they often get off the thyroid hormone, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
And
a lot of hormone issues right now, like, right? With testosterone, especially.
they get you on it. They expect you to be on it forever.
Yeah.
Right. Because most of conventional medicine and even a lot of alternative medicine is like, once you're broken, you're broken. There's no way to fix you. We can just kind of make your symptoms better. You know, if your testosterone's low, we just give you testosterone. It's not coming back. Well, we can get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
That's scary to be on TRT the rest of your life.
It is. And the liver doesn't really like TRT.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, your liver has to process everything that comes in. So think about this. My whole basis to health is that the liver rules all your health.
Because that's your detox.
That's your detox. So anything that your liver's not detoxing, it's affecting everything else negatively. So as the liver slows down, people will think they have to have their liver enzymes have to look bad on a test or any of that stuff. You don't have to have obvious liver problems. Like if somebody has, like Grant had kidney problems and he had jaundice, which is a liver problem, and he had skin problems. He took out the vitamin A and he had enough protein, he had enough soluble fiber that helps you detox. And he had enough calories, and his body fixed his liver, it fixed his kidneys, and it fixed his skin. And I'm saying where do we store vitamin A? The liver. So as his liver cleaned out the vitamin A, it fixed the other problems. So the liver just rules everything. So when we're fixing that, then we get to the point where your body can fix the problems. Yeah. That's the thread. The thread that I was looking for was the liver and the bile that the liver makes, which if it's leaking into your system, so this is an important thing. I'll give you the quick rundown of toxic bile paradigm. Your liver makes bile, right? Your liver takes the toxins that come to it and it concentrates them into bile. Therefore, how does your liver get rid of toxins? Into the bile. Okay, the bile is the most toxic fluid by definition in your body. You don't want that hanging around, right? You remember the chemical peel thing?
Yeah.
So your body gets rid of vitamin A and retinoic acid into the bile. So then the bile becomes a chemical peel. The bile can then eat holes in the liver cells that make it. It can eat holes in the tiny little bile ducts in the liver. It can eat holes in the big bile ducts. It can eat holes in the gut, the leaky gut. If it goes back up into your stomach, what do you think stomach ulcers are? It's eating holes in your stomach. It's not the stomach acid that does that. It's the bile. So, and your stomach can actually absorb bile directly in. All those other leaks means that toxic bile, the most toxic fluid in your entire body, is leaking into your bloodstream.
Jeez.
You're self-poisoning. And so why are we having such good results with all these different conditions? We use the same concepts and principles, just tweaked for the person for pretty much everything. Because it's all related to the liver and the toxic bile. So as we get the bile less toxic, it eats fewer holes, the body can fix the leaks, and then the bile, more of it is going out through your poop, which is what we want.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like that's the thread. It's really three things. We reduce or minimize or eliminate toxins coming in. We facilitate the removal of toxins that are already stored, and then we give the body the nutrients that it needs to protect itself and to detox. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Because the body, when it's optimized, knows how to heal itself, right?
Yes.
That's the whole difference with pharma and you.
That's the part we have to believe in. We have to believe a couple of things. One, that the body can heal itself, and it does, if it's given the right environment. Two is that the body is wise. And that at any given moment, it is doing the best it can with oftentimes the junk that's being thrown at it. And so we have to assume that we're not trying to shut down the body's responses. We're listening to the body that is saying, here's a signal that something's wrong. And we're just going to try to reduce the load on it. It's like a lot of people at work. If you got too much work, you're all stressed out. You don't feel good. If all of a sudden, if you can catch up on your work, well, let's say you talk to your boss and you say, stop giving me so much work. I got to catch up. So this is like less toxins in, right? Stop putting toxins in. You catch up on the work that you have, and then you can clean up your office space. You can do more stuff. You're happier at home. Like your whole life gets better because you're not overloaded. So the most important thing of all of this is less toxins in, because a toxin that you don't take into your body, you don't have to detox. It doesn't hurt you. So a lot of it is just avoiding it at the start And then you're giving your body space to clean up.
Yeah. Love that. Dr. Garrett, where can people find you? Anything else you want to close off with?
No, I mean, I'm on the internet. If people are looking for me, like looking for Nutrition Detective is a great way to find me. nutritiondetective.com is where if people wanted to work with me or my other healthcare facilitators, we do hair testing and blood testing and consults. And we actually give people 6 months of included follow-up in a package, because this is not an easy route to follow. And so I insist on giving people help. It's not just like, here's your consult, see you later. And then I'm on Twitter at NutriDetect. That's where I do a lot of posting, and YouTube is probably one of my big haunts. I do a weekly live stream, and yeah, people really like that. I go deep into topics. It's usually 2 or 3 hours. So I talk a lot.
You go hard. I love it.
Yeah, but those are the main places to find me.
Thanks for condensing for this episode.
Absolutely.
Check them out, guys. I'll see you next time.